All right, welcome back, Tulsi Krats, Indie Krats, and Free Radicals. My name is Dave, and this is the Radical Independent, the channel that is not beholden to any political movement. We're just Americans looking for real solutions to problems, and we understand that the right might have an idea that's good, the left might have an idea that's good. We're somewhat progressive, but we're mostly very independent, and that's what makes this channel different. I want to talk about Tulsi Gabbard again, because now the trolls have come out of the woodwork all over Twitter and Facebook and the news media, and all the typical stuff is coming out. There are three big ones that are out there: anti-gay, Assad apologist, stealth conservative. We'll take those one by one. I can tell you all of these allegations against Tulsi Gabbard are demonstrably false and can be proven so quite easily. I'm just going to do a little talk. If you want to do more research on your own and actually listen to the words of Tulsi Gabbard, be my guest. So we'll start with anti-gay. As a conservative guy on certain issues, I'm scratching my head these days at people who want you to think the way they think on every issue. Now, I'm very libertarian when it comes to gay rights. I personally don't have a dog in the hunt for gay marriage or anything like that. By the way, that's already been ruled upon. So even if I disagreed with that from a Christian conservative standpoint, I would acknowledge that, the courts have spoken and it's a done deal. I may harbor maybe some personal feelings on the issue, but when we extrapolate that and we look at what Tulsi Gabbard thinks, Tulsi Gabbard held some conservative beliefs when she was younger. Again, we've been over this a million times, but her voting record speaks to the issue more so than anything else. And maybe she harbors her own personal belief system on marriage. She's voted 100% in lockstep with the gay rights agenda. Done. It should be done, but it's not done, because if people suspect that in your past or maybe in the deep recesses of your mind you might hold a different belief, even though you voted with their politically correct mindset. In other words, it's not enough to actually do the work or be a legislator or actually say, you know what, these folks need rights and I'm here for them. I may not agree with some of the things that they're doing and saying, okay, but I'm going to be with them. To me, that shows somebody who's representing their district, somebody who has modeled their legislation after the constituents that live there. But that's not enough anymore. It's not enough. They got to get inside your cranium and find out what's going on in there. And if they find, from a personal standpoint, that you believe in something that's not quite where it should be, they're going to continuously call you out on it. And this is where our country is headed right now. And it's a dangerous place, because we all need to coexist. Those bumper stickers that I used to make fun of, those things are spot on. The problem is people don't want to coexist. People want to pull you into their vortex and find things in your brain that don't line up with the prevailing Twitter trending narrative. All right, Tulsi Gabbard has voted 100% with the LGBT community, and her voting record speaks for itself. I believe the Human Rights Campaign gave her a score of 100. So, done. Okay? The only way it's not done is if you're wanting somebody to speak your lingo when it comes to bashing on people who go to church or conservatives who don't hold your views, or whoever out there who supposedly is giving you a hard time each day. All right, I go to church each Sunday. I have not heard any sermons in recent memory on the topic of homosexuality. None. Okay? It's like Joel Osteen. It's typically about how to be a better you every day. How to stop being a jerk. Okay? That's kind of what Christianity has become. Because typically, people get offended on things or about things that are controversial, and that causes negative publicity, and then you'll get boycotted, and you'll lose your ministry and all that stuff. And I think, quite honestly, these are concepts that can help everybody. I'm not advocating, by the way, I'm not saying you should go watch Joel Osteen. I use him as an example because the dude is harmless, okay? In fact, the hardcore Christians beat up on that guy every day because he doesn't call out all the sins properly, and supposedly he's not theologically correct. All right? It's just, at a certain point, you've got to, again, look at the bumper sticker and say, I'm going to coexist. Tulsi Gabbard, 100% gay rights. Done. It should be over, but it never will be, because there's always going to be this suspicion from the folks like over at TYT and MSNBC and all the usual places who just look at her and say, well, she's in the military, she grew up conservative, and she's probably just a stealth conservative. Which, by the way, this is the new one, and I'll cover this now. Okay? So, I've been hearing this, is that the only way Tulsi Gabbard is going to win the primary is if she brings in a whole bunch of conservative votes. Not the primary, but these are primaries, and she wants to win. She wants to be number one. So, the only way she's going to do this, because, you got Joe Biden, you got all these politically correct candidates, Kamala Harris, and top tier, as Kamala Harris would say, you're going to have to pull in conservatives to vote for you. Like me, supposedly. Well, here's the deal. I was registered as an independent, and yes, here in Florida, I had to go and register as a Democrat to vote in the Democratic primaries. All right? It doesn't mean what happens. I don't go back to supporting Ted Cruz after this is over. I will just go back to being an independent because that's who I am. I'm not a right-winger. I'm not a left-winger. I have some progressive tendencies and a few conservative tendencies, but overall, again, I hate to keep hitting this over the head, but I am an issue-by-issue person, and most normal people that I meet in society, and when I say normal, I mean informed, I mean family-oriented, I mean just people that I come in contact with. Those people are typically somewhat libertarian, somewhat progressive, and sometimes a little bit conservative. And oh well, right? So Tulsi Gabbard, though, if you're worried that she's a stealth conservative, then man, she's really been doing a very convincing job, standing next to Bernie Sanders in 2016 and supporting him over Queen Hillary, and that to me took guts. And if you're not convinced that she's a progressive based on that courageous stand, when everybody was basically writing Bernie off and she said, no, I'm going to step down. I could have been a rising star within this party in a mainstream sense, but I've decided to just continue to be a Democrat, but I'm going to support Bernie Sanders. That took guts, all right? And if she was just a political opportunist, she would have hung in there and said, I don't agree with Hillary Clinton on some things, but you know what? She's our best hope. She's the best chance we have of beating Donald Trump. This is all you hear these days. Joe Biden, he's the best hope. And a lot of us are saying, I don't want the best hope to beat Trump. I want somebody who has ideas and policies, who can actually change things in the country. Otherwise, there are people, I've seen them, I've read them on Twitter who say, hey, I'm just going to go back to Trump. I was off the Trump train, but if you guys can't get your act together, either I'm going to vote third party or I'll vote for Donald Trump again. And the horror. Oh, no, how could you do that? Because you're not giving us an alternative. You're giving us Elizabeth Warren, Kamala Harris, Joe Biden. These aren't alternatives. These are tribalists who will speak a certain lexicon, who will have a certain way of presenting themselves. But when they get to the Oval, I guarantee you, they're going to govern more like Trump than you think. I mean, yeah, the rhetoric, the Twitter, all that stuff will go away. And some people, hey, I get it. They wake up in the morning and they so hate this man that they can't function. All right? And that's nuts. You need to just go on with your daily life and try to be, as Joel Osteen says, a better you. Sorry to bring him in. I think I watched a sermon of his one time and I said, this is really about nothing. It's really just self-help and pop psychology sprinkled with a few Bible verses. So, bottom line with this stealth conservative line is it again stems from the same stuff as far as Tulsi's past with her conservative belief system and so forth. But since she's been in Congress, look at the legislation she's authored or co-authored. Just none of it is conservative, really. I mean, free speech, I guess, there are some things that intersect. So, I mean, if she had co-authored a hate speech bill, she would have been, the queen, the star of Congress. But no, she's for free speech, and she doesn't believe that big tech should have a monopoly on speech and communications. So, yeah, we suspect that Tulsi might have this conservative stealth nature that we're going to really keep an eye on. Folks, she's the only candidate who could actually bring the two factions together. And most of the media doesn't care. They want the food fight. They want this continue. They'd love to see a Trump-Warren battle for the presidency. Elizabeth Warren against Donald Trump. Because then you get all of the slurs coming out, Pocahontas and all that stuff. And Warren is going to call him a racist and a bigot every hour. And this is going to drive ratings on CNN. And this is going to bring the country closer to a civil war. I'm just saying. I hate to even say that phrase, but we need a peacemaker. And Tulsi Gabbard is that person. So we've covered the gay rights thing. We covered the stealth conservative thing. One more, and this is the one that drives me the craziest, is the Assad apologist. Okay? Because she went and met with Assad, so she loves dictators. Yeah, because I see her flying all over the world to meet with all kinds of crazy dictators. By the way, in a speech, Tulsi Gabbard said, hey, bring it on. I'll meet with any dictator if I can make the world a more peaceful place. Gee, I thought those on the left, at least when I was growing up, the people on the left, the progressives, those were the anti-war folks. Where did they all go? Where did the anti-war people go? And some of them were very glib. Some of them didn't. Some of them were just blind pacifists, and I don't agree with that necessarily, but I would prefer that stance right now over the stance of blind warmonger. If you're telling me you're a pacifist, I'm going to be more interested in that than I am in someone who's just, hey, we need to assert ourselves. We're a global superpower. Tim Ryan, we need to be engaged. Really, Tim? We've been very engaged. We could be less engaged, Tim. Tulsi Gabbard believes that Assad, although a bad dude and probably did some really bad things to his own people, is not a direct threat to the United States of America. The funny thing is that this is done in a very selective way. When they single out a guy like Assad, they don't go to other countries where worse atrocities are taking place, like Saudi Arabia. Did I say Saudi Arabia? No, that wasn't Saudi Arabia. Like what's going on in Yemen. Nobody's really talking about that because, hey, it's Saudi Arabia and they're an ally, right? We're selling them all kinds of military hardware and we're making a ton of money off of that. A lot of those companies all that money trickles down to all of these media companies. It does. It does. It does in one form. It could be advertising revenue. It could be direct relationships. It could be guys that serve on boards. I mean, or ladies. I don't want to be sexist. Could be a man. Could be a woman serving on that board. The bottom line is that none of this stuff, by the way, is making us safer. This is just making money for certain corridors, certain lanes of our economy where we need to transition. And Tulsi has spoken at length about this Assad apologist thing. Say it! Say it! I feel like Sam Kinison should be in the room with Tulsi Gabbard. Say it! Next time, Sam is not with us anymore, but it's like, they've got this panel of MSNBC stooges that are grilling Tulsi Gabbard. Can't you say it? Why can't you say it? Just say it. Say he's a bad guy. Say he's an enemy of the state. No! I'm going to just say it like it is. I don't want to ratchet up tensions over there because it'll probably get more United States service people killed. We're going to send more people over there to get involved in another endless conflict. And I don't want to add more fuel to that fire. So I'm going to actually tamp down on my rhetoric. And you can speak for your little radio station or television station here. I'm going to just play it like a diplomat. And they hate that. They hate that she's diplomatic with, dictators. Again, her message is, I will go around the world and meet with dictators because it might actually make the world a safer and more peaceful place. I don't know. I think that's a good enough answer for me. I think it's good enough. I don't think I need to hear anything else about Assad, but we're going to continue to hear about it. So, the three biggies: anti-gay rights, false; stealth conservative, check her voting and legislative record, demonstrably false, and probably the biggest of the three that's really false, although I would say all three of them are hugely false. The Assad thing, they're just going to keep that going, and this is again, the left, as when I was growing up and looking at people on the left, those people were right about the Vietnam War. They're right about our constant involvement. There are a few people that showed up in 2004, voted for John Kerry, thinking that John Kerry was a peacemaker because of what he did when he came back from Vietnam. Truth be told, is Kerry was just as bad as anybody when he got to be Obama's, Secretary of State? And then, Hillary took over? Was it Kerry was the Secretary of State? In any event, he didn't do anything different. I mean, he and John McCain pretty much walked in lockstep on most foreign policy things. In 2004, I think he tried to capitalize on the anti-war fervor there was, even though it was very short-lived. Folks, nobody talks anti-war anymore. We used to get that, and you had Ron Paul do it, and look what happened to him. Now you got Tulsi Gabbard doing it. I don't understand why people like war. Why? What is it with, Edwin Starr was 100% correct. What is it good for? Absolutely nothing. Say it again. So, one of the reasons both left and right are attracted to Tulsi Gabbard, at least the true lefties and the true libertarian righties, they're attracted to her because she's got a message. And that message is, first and foremost, of peace and then prosperity. That's it, in a nutshell. So, I'm done with this video. Again, if you can support me over on Patreon, that would be awesome. I will put the email address for my PayPal account in the description of this video. I've had some generous and kind donations over there. I've got a video up right now with over 10,000 views and seeing 0 when it comes to revenue. It was immediately demonetized, and as this channel grows, as more people come over here, I look to take more incoming from the folks that I'm supposed to be partnered with. I'll keep making this point, YouTube. You and I, we're supposed to be partners, all right? You gave me the ability to monetize videos, all right? I made your goals. viewing hours and number of subscribers. Now I'm absolutely decimating those numbers, annihilating those numbers, and now I'm getting a resistance because of the message, which is peace and prosperity. Tulsi Gabbard. That's what this channel is about. Independent thought, not beholden to the left or the right, just trying to understand what's best for everybody in this country. And I'll keep speaking that truth to power so long as I can. But I need people to help me out. Just even if you can do $5 over there, $10, or $1 a month over on Patreon, that would really help. All right, I am done with this video. It's a long video, so enjoy. I will see you soon. Talk to you then.